Thanks for being with us on AM Agenda this morning. Joining me now, the Shadow Environment Minister, Greg Hunt. Mr Hunt, thanks for your time. I want to start by playing for you the comment made by the Ford Australia President, Bob Graziano, who's talking about the job cuts announced yesterday.
The carbon tax has absolutely nothing to do with today's announcement. Today's announcement is about ensuring that our production meets demand based on what Australian customers are asking for in this marketplace.
He says it's got nothing to do with the carbon tax. Do you accept that?
Well, look, Ford has to make its own decisions, but what's absolutely clear here is that on top of all of the domestic issues, including production, consumption, manufacturing, demand, costs, adding what's largely a manufacturing and electricity tax of $9 billion a year across Australia, and what's specifically a $440 million impost over the coming years on the car sector in the form of a carbon tax, is absolutely the worst possible additional thing you could do.
So you don't accept his comment that that the decision had nothing to do with the carbon tax?
No, he's absolutely entitled to make statements on behalf of the country, but if you look at manufacturing across Australia, adding a $9 billion a year tax, which is what the carbon tax is according to Treasury's own estimates, makes a bad situation worse. How could it be anything other than making a bad situation worse? We know that Australian manufacturing is in a vulnerable condition. We have rising production, whether it's from China or other parts of the developing world. We have a high Australian dollar, and then on top of that, to add a $9 billion a year tax simply, obviously, unarguably is bad for Australian manufacturing.
The Coalition hasn't supported, it's about $1.5 billion in support for the automotive industry. Things would be more precarious, would they not, for workers in that sector if the Coalition was in power?
No. We think that we can make the Australian economy more competitive. We'd start by taking away a $9 billion a year electricity and manufacturing tax, which is, of course, a huge impost.
You'd take away the support for the automotive industry as well?
With great respect, that statement is plain, flat wrong.
So, then you would keep the support for the automotive industry where it is at the moment. You would do that, because if that's the case, that's breaking news this morning.
No, let me speak, Kieran. When you're finished, you let me know.
Well, tell me, what's the level of support? Will you maintain $1.5 billion for the automotive industry? Because I want a bit of clarity on what you're going to do here, because you've just said you would keep support.
When you're finished interviewing yourself, Kieran, I'm happy to respond. You let me know when you're ready.
Okay, tell us what the support would be. I just want clarity for our viewers rather than a deceptive answer. What would the support be? I haven't
had a chance to answer yet. Look, you keep going, interview yourself, and you can go for another 3 or 4 minutes, but when you're ready, I'll respond.
Can you give us an answer? What would the support be, rather than this ridiculous dancing around?
Okay. We will have an automotive package. We've already committed to that. We will make sure, though, that there is value for money, and we think that it has to go before the Productivity Commission, so as we don't have the situation where the Prime Minister promised 300 jobs early in the year and delivers a loss of 440 jobs. And these are real jobs with real people who are going to face difficulties, whether it's for themselves or their families. What we see is that there are promises made, and the delivery, as has been the case throughout the government, is radically different. So yes, there is a role, and I say this particularly as a Victorian, for smart support. But we've seen today reports that the very standards which the government had wanted to achieve in terms of support for the new Green Falcon haven't been achieved. So as in New South Wales, for example, they're not able to purchase them according to their own standards. So they set standards for a government, for a government bailout, which was not delivered, and therefore it was money spent without adequate supervision. That's the problem here, that they're not getting delivery.
So to cut through that, you want a Productivity Commission review. There's no commitment to keep the support where it is. Finally, on the carbon tax compensation, we've only got less than a minute now. Do you think that payments should be made in credits or cash?
Well, our view has been very simply that the best way to deal with the carbon tax is to take away the carbon tax. That what we need to do here is to take away the carbon tax because it's an electricity tax on mums and dads, pensioners and seniors, and the small business owners whom I've been meeting and others in the coalition have been meeting right around the country. So what we see with this carbon tax is three things. Firstly, it doesn't work. Australia's emissions go up. Secondly, it's a manufacturing tax at the worst possible time. And thirdly, it's an electricity tax on mums and dads. And that's why it is a fundamentally misconstrued policy which doesn't even achieve its objective of reducing Australia's domestic emissions.
Well, that was a perfectly timed answer. We're out of time, Mr Hunt. As always, good to see you. Thanks for that.
Thanks very much, Kieran.
That's all for AM Agenda. Thank you for your company. We'll see you soon.